Welcome to Taranov's Geopolitics channel. Are Russian jet drones about to change everything, or are we just looking at massive propaganda hype? Stay tuned, because today we break down the whole story. Over the next few minutes, we're diving deep into some wild new reports. We've got claims about new Russian jet-powered attack drones hitting the front lines, massive factory expansions, missile production numbers, and even a brand new satellite network built to control it all. Make sure you watch until the end, because the real picture of where long-range warfare is going might totally surprise you. Foreign sources and Russian Telegram channels have been talking non-stop about a huge surge in the production of new jet-powered attack drones, specifically the Geran-4 and Geran-5. This suggests Russia might be stepping into a whole new phase of its long-range drone campaign. Alongside those reports, a whole flood of claims has surfaced about Russian missile production, total drone output, and the development of Russia's new low-Earth orbit satellite network, Rassvet. Now, some of these tech upgrades are backed by hard evidence, but others are just intelligence estimates that nobody has independently verified yet. That distinction really matters. Especially when both sides in this information war use weapons production claims to shape the narrative. Let's look at this whole new generation of Garin drones. The Garin family is one of Russia's primary long-range strike systems, and everybody knows the Iranian Shahed 136 design is linked to the older Garin-2, which has seen heavy use against targets deep behind the front lines. But the battlefield keeps changing. Air defense networks are getting way smarter, which forces both sides to build unmanned systems that are faster, harder to shoot down, and available in massive numbers. In this environment, bringing out jet-powered Garin variants marks a pretty serious technical pivot. Open-source reports describe the Geran-4 and Geran-5 as the speed demons of the family, ditching the slow piston engines of the old models for jet propulsion. Taranov's analysis is built on cutting through the noise, so let's examine what that extra speed actually buys them on the ground. That extra speed gives them a huge operational edge. Air defense crews get a tiny fraction of the time to spot, track, and shoot down a high-speed drone. Even if you keep the warhead size the exact same, faster drones wreck the economic math of air defense and put immense strain on expensive missile stockpiles. How many Geran-4 and Geran-5 units are actually rolling off the assembly lines? That is where things get super blurry. The math here just completely falls apart if you look too closely at the headlines. Western and Ukrainian intelligence groups keep publishing wildly different numbers for Russian drone production. Some claims say Russia can churn out thousands of Garin drones every single month, while other official reports say the total annual count for all long-range attack drones is way lower. Both of those statements cannot be true at the same time. Take 2025, for example, when reports claimed monthly Garin production had already blown past several thousand units. If that was real, then another estimate claiming only about 11,000 total Garin and Gerber drones were built for an entire year makes zero sense. There are a few ways to explain this mess. Different analysts might be counting different types of aircraft, or maybe some are tracking raw component shipments while others only count finished, ready-to-fly airframes. Plus, factory output shifts wildly month to month. The reality is that Moscow doesn't drop official monthly manufacturing spreadsheets for its military hardware. That makes real side-by-side comparisons basically impossible. So, is Russia actually binning the Garin-2? In 2026, one of the biggest claims floating around is that factories are actively phasing out the old piston-engine Garin-2 to focus heavily on the faster jet variants. Some Ukrainian military reports go even further, claiming these new jet models might already make up half of all long-range drone strikes. Taranov's analysis is always about sticking to facts over hype, and right now, that 50% number is completely unverified. When Russian strikes happen, public defense reports usually count the total incoming targets, but they rarely confirm the exact submodel of every crashed or intercepted drone with total accuracy. Trying to figure out the exact market share of the Geran-4 and Geran-5 purely from public reports is basically an impossible puzzle. Still, moving toward faster drones makes total strategic sense. Russia has already proven that swarming cheap drones burns up enemy air defense interceptors and forces radar sites to reveal their positions. Throwing faster jet drones into that mix shrinks the defender's reaction window and makes that exact tactic way more lethal. That doesn't mean the old Garins are going to the scrap heap, though. Instead, Russia is likely building a mixed toolbox, using different drone types for totally different mission profiles. Now, let's talk about the Alabuga factor. The Alabuga Special Economic Zone in Tatarstan gets cited constantly whenever people discuss Russian industrial drone production. That industrial hub is heavily linked to the mass production of Garin series drones. Fresh satellite images from 2026 show new construction and massive facility expansion, which definitely points to expanding floor space. But brand new concrete buildings don't automatically tell you how many drones are actually flying out the door. A giant new hall could be used for final assembly, storing parts, housing foreign workers, or testing completely unrelated gear. Slapping a specific production target on new satellite photos without internal factory data is just pure guesswork. What we can say for sure is that Russia is sinking massive capital into long-term industrial infrastructure for uncrewed systems. Taranov's analysis is keeping a close eye on this, because industrial footprint is the ultimate indicator of long-term capability. Meanwhile, Russia's missile production is another critical piece of this puzzle. You can't look at drone numbers in a vacuum while ignoring cruise and ballistic missile output. Western intelligence reports keep putting out monthly estimate numbers for Russian Iskander-M, Kh-101, and Kalibr production. Those assessments show that even while firing steady volleys at Ukrainian infrastructure, Russian plants are maintaining a surprisingly high build rate. You often hear the argument that Russia is launching more missiles each month than its factories can build, proving their stockpiles are running dry. Frankly, that logic is super flawed and ignores basic military logistics. A nation can easily ramp up active factory lines while simultaneously pulling older stock out of deep storage reserve vaults. On top of that, factory output moves in waves depending on supply chains, microchip deliveries, and immediate frontline needs. You simply cannot declare a missile shortage just by taking 1 month's launch count and subtracting an estimated monthly production figure. There are way too many moving parts behind the curtain. Then, we have the space element, Rassvet. The most game-changing shift might not even be happening inside a factory, but hundreds of miles above the Earth. Russia has started launching satellites for its new Rassvet low Earth orbit communications constellation, which many people call Moscow's answer to Starlink. Before these launches, Russian President Vladimir Putin explicitly noted that satellite internet networks would be key for controlling remote unmanned platforms. The first batch of 16 serial production Rassvet satellites went up into orbit in March 2026. Russian plans call for a massive constellation, with early phases aiming for several hundred active satellites in low orbit. The impact of Rassvet goes way past civilian high-speed internet. A dedicated low Earth orbit network gives the military high-bandwidth, jam-resistant data links to control swarms of drones and uncrewed vehicles in real time over massive distances. Still, until we see documented proof on the battlefield, claims that Rassvet is already actively steering combat drones need to be taken with a grain of salt. When you step back and look at all these pieces together, you see a much bigger picture than just a new drone model hitting the front lines. Russia seems to be building a fully integrated unmanned warfare ecosystem. That means pairing mass-produced strike drones with high-speed jet variants, backed by massive factory hubs and tied together by a dedicated space-based satellite network. If the reports about scaled-up Geran-4 and Geran-5 production hold true, bringing jet engines into mass-produced drones is a massive leap forward. Yet, hard numbers remain the biggest missing piece of the puzzle. Bold claims that Russia is cranking out thousands of jet drones a month, or that jet models make up half of all strikes, shouldn't be swallowed as proven facts without hard, independent verification. But the overall direction of travel is getting pretty impossible to deny. Russia is simultaneously dropping huge money into physical factory expansion, building its own orbital communications net, and engineering faster strike platforms. If those three legs of the stool get fully linked into a single real-time combat system, the impact on future warfare will go way beyond what any individual Garin drone can do on its own. Right now, the Geran-4 and Geran-5 are still wrapped in military secrecy and unanswered questions. But their arrival gives us a very clear preview of what the next generation of long-range drone warfare is going to look like. If you like this podcast, please like, subscribe and share.